ChatGPT AI. Will it take the place of the human brain? In case you haven't heard about it, ChatGPT is the newest AI software that's being talked about all over the world. I've heard a lot of optimism and I've heard a lot of fear about it. On one hand, people are holding courses to teach others how to use it to automate writing blogs, writing emails, writing advertisement, and yes, even writing books. On another hand, people are saying this is going to be the thing that takes over the world, or at the very least, one more thing that takes away the need for humans to use their brains, which will cause us to lose our brains. I've even heard comments like, it's like talking to God, or it's omniscient and it knows everything, or this will be as game-changing as the internet was when it came along. What is ChatGPT? Is it the earth-shattering, future-changing application that some are saying it is? Or are we just overexcited about something we don't know much about yet? In this episode, I'll share thoughts about it as an entrepreneur, an author, and a professor. And I'll also share with you a recent experience I had with it that you're going to want to hear. ChatGPT, what is it? Well, I thought the best way to describe it would be to ask it to explain itself. Here's what it said.
ChatGPT is a large language model created by OpenAI that uses artificial intelligence to generate human-like responses to text-based prompts. Essentially, it can have conversations with humans in a way that is similar to how we communicate with each other. It has been trained on vast amounts of text data, including books, articles, and online conversations to understand language and context in a way that allows it to generate responses that are coherent and relevant to the input it receives. It can answer questions, provide advice, generate creative writing prompts, and much more. Overall, it's a powerful tool for natural language processing that's revolutionizing the way we interact with technology and communicate with each other.
Now, I want to highlight this. Within its own description, it says it's a tool for language processing, interacting with technology, and communicating. It doesn't say it's a research tool or a data analyst, an answerer of all questions, or omniscient and godlike. I signed up for the experimental version a couple months ago and have been playing with it for that long. First, as an author, I'll say that I will never allow anyone or anything to write for the public on behalf of myself without my oversight. It would just take away too much of my personality, my style, and my own thinking that comes up with my unique ways of looking at things. And second, even if you're not an author, relying 100% on an app, or anyone for that matter, to do anything for you, and then claiming it as your own, could result in serious consequences, especially if mistakes are made and you are blamed for those mistakes. And even if it doesn't affect you directly, it could negatively affect your customers, clients, patients, or readers in a serious way. Some might think, but it's AI. It's not human. It doesn't make mistakes. And what I say to that is, I recommend you listen to the end of this podcast because you might be in for a surprise. One of the best ways it's being used right now is as a copywriting tool. I was at an event this weekend where Jeff Walker led us through his best practices on how to use ChatGPT to help write copy for your business. Now, if you're not familiar with the word copy, it means basically copyright material like advertisements and emails, blogs, web pages, etc. I was really pleased with his balanced approach, and I agree with it. He basically said, if you're looking at a blank page and we're talking about a grading system, it'll get you from an F to a C, but it won't get you to an A. You have to take what it gives you and then put your own mind and heart into it if you want to get it to A-level writing. And what we experienced in class was that if you wanted to produce something valuable, you need to develop the skills to write very detailed questions to get it to produce the content you're really looking for. And sometimes you need to have a conversation with it. Literally, you type a sentence as though you're talking to someone and it replies to you and it will make corrections and you can help it to further zero in on specifically what you need it to say. Thus, the chat in ChatGPT. How about information within that copy? Does it give good, reliable information? I heard some very knowledgeable people report that they asked it questions and it threw out incredibly useful, broad ranging information and even gave some information they hadn't heard before. Wait, what? Let me sidebar this for a second. According to Apple News podcast a few weeks ago, ChatGPT works like autocorrect on your phone or the AI in your Google Mail. It fills out sentences in a predictive way. And that's very different from searching and finding reliable data, especially if you're working on my iPhone that doesn't know how to predict much at all. So, how accurate is it then? As a professor at a school of medicine who teaches students at a graduate level how to do research and write about it, I wanted to see how it might do a research-based essay, should one of my students ask it to. So I asked ChatGPT to write an essay. I gave it the questions I wanted it to answer, the topics I wanted covered within the answer, and I told it to include statistics and references. Now, already you can see how much I guided this paper based on knowledge I already have. After 3 tries, it came up with a pretty impressive essay. Anyone reading it, at first glance, would think it was pretty great. An experienced reader, though, would be able to tell it sounded like a bot. So that's one downfall. But that's easy enough to fix. So let's get to the real reason for my story. In this paper, ChatGPT gave 4 references with numerical data from well-known journals. The information sounded like data I'd seen before from sources just like these, so I was highly confident it was accurate. But I wanted to take it a step further. I wanted to see if ChatGPT discussed this data and information in the right context according to the articles that it was talking about. So I asked for the list of the references that it used for this paper. And that's when things got dicey. For this beautiful essay, it listed 4 references. I typed in the first reference to Google, and it led me to a 404 page, which means page not found. But the article sounded really familiar. So I searched around Google for about 10 minutes, and I found the article, and it had a slightly different web address from the one ChatGPT gave. That's understandable, I thought. Web links are being shifted around all the time. And I don't know why I didn't think more into it, because if this application is so smart, why didn't it give me the right URL? Anyway, I moved on to the second reference with high hopes, but I had the same problem. The web page wasn't found, so I started Googling again. This time, it wasn't that there was a similar web address, but there was a piece of research that had a similar title and looked like what ChatGPT was referring to. And there were only a few pieces of research written by this company on this subject, so I read them all. I read the articles several times over and couldn't find the data it was quoting in the essay. I was so convinced that this program is supposed to be so amazing. I was taking other numbers inside the article and adding them and dividing them, thinking that ChatGPT must be such a genius. Maybe it was trying not to plagiarize and decided to quote the numbers in some unique fashion. But I didn't come up with any number that matched the data in the essay. Finally, I simply asked it to show me the research study that gives this exact data. And it confidently gave me the same article again. I then said to it, "There is no reference in this article that reflects what you're saying." And it said, "I apologize for the confusion. You are correct that the article I referenced does not mention that specifically. It's actually in another article." And it gave me a completely different article from the one in the list of references. And that is when I really started seeing red flags. I had actually already read that article in my search, and I did not see any information that resembled the data ChatGPT quoted in the essay. But again, giving it the benefit of a doubt, I scoured that article and found nothing that vaguely represented it. Back to ChatGPT again, I said, give me the exact quote from this article. This time it says, I apologize for any confusion. The article I previously referenced does not mention the specific data, but there is another article that says something like it, so basically we can deduct that one thing leads to another and make this conclusion. And so ChatGPT was pretty much making things up. The research, the data, and the numbers did not exist. And it was pretty strongly convincing that the first paper it gave me had the information in it, but I was the one that was missing it. And yet when we got down to the bottom of it, it just wasn't there. Well, I had 2 more references to go. I had to try the third reference, and I was really hoping for a different outcome. I wanted to give ChatGPT the benefit of the doubt. I figured, okay, maybe this is a 50-50 kind of a thing, but I had the exact same result. After spending much time searching and reading, going back and forth with ChatGPT, it apologized and admitted that there was no particular article with that specific data and numbers, and it was pretty much made up. The fourth reference was a book only found on Amazon, and I was not about to buy that for the sake of this experiment. In fact, I had gotten what I needed for now. So what are the takeaways here? First, ChatGPT is good for helping you get an idea of what you might write about, or helping to make an outline of what to write about or talk about. But you have to fill it in with your own knowledge, experience, and personality. There are many reasons why, including my last big example, why you shouldn't use what it gives you verbatim to write information for your followers or your teams or your customers. In terms of reporting data and research, it is not dependable. It's not an omniscient, godlike program that scours the internet and brings you everything you ask for. But it doesn't claim to know everything. It doesn't claim to answer all questions or even give you the right answers. And I encourage you to think about this. ChatGPT is a tool, like any other technology. If you use a Maps app in your car, sometimes you plug in an address and get a route to your location, but sometimes you want to go a different way on better roads, or you think an area is dangerous and you want to avoid it. There might even be times where it runs into bad service and it points you in the completely wrong direction. And you notice that because you have a sense of where you're going and you know that doing a complete U-turn is not what you want to do. So you override the app with your own knowledge, experience, and common sense and keep going straight. This is the kind of human oversight we need to use when we use AI for things that are important and not a game. We need to keep our own brains active and engaged in the outcome. One more thing to seriously think about. The car is also a tool. It was invented to take us further, faster than we can go on foot, but we didn't give up walking. At some point, people may have thought or imagined or dreamed we'd be riding in little cars all over the house, never having to use our feet or legs again. But we have discovered that if we gave up walking and regular movement, we are moving ourselves towards debilitating and painful diseases that'll shorten our life and reduce the quality of our lives. So we're all trying to move more these days instead of less. As another example, ultra-processed food was invented to take less time to make and eat. It lasts longer in pantries, it can go unrefrigerated, and it's cheaper than real food. But we found out that eating too much of that and not enough natural food also shortens our lives and causes serious, uncomfortable, and complicated disease. I have no doubt that we need to keep learning and using our brain to maintain its optimal functioning. As a professor, When I have discussed ChatGPT with other professors, we talk about the possibility that students can use it to write an entire essay. And there's only so much we can do, but we can check the references. If you're really scared about what ChatGPT means for our future, one good philosophy I've heard on this is, it's here now. It's part of our reality. We can't close the box back up. The box has been opened. So we need to accept reality and figure out how we're going to go forward. For professors, it might have to be teaching and grading differently. For you, it might be something else. But that's what good leadership is. Not ignoring reality, but staring it right in the face and saying, okay, what do we do with this? If you like this podcast, click like and subscribe. Let me know what the subject makes you think about and what you want to talk about next. This is Lucy Gable. I'll see you next time. Some might think, but it's AI. It's not human. It doesn't make mistakes. Freaking A.